It's now time for Punted, a podcast discussing the very latest in all things racing, including tips, giveaways and laughs. Here's your hosts, Scott McKinnon and Nathan Kendrick.
Hey guys, welcome back for another week of the Punted podcast. We're lucky enough to be joined by Kiaarn Dickens, Nate.
Very exciting. Kiaarn's a Sky Racing presenter and tipster. She's been on fire lately, so it's pretty exciting to have her on the show.
Has anyone tipped a full card of racing, like 9 races?
I have a feeling Matt Hill. Yeah, he might have done it down at, it might have been Sandown or something. It was probably 6 months ago. But other than that, I haven't heard of anyone doing it, so it's a good effort. But thanks for joining us, Kiaarn.
Thanks, guys. It's it's good to be on.
And we've got you on a Wednesday afternoon, so you're obviously not presenting the midweek meeting at Ipswich this week?
No, so Wednesday for me today, I dropped the kids off at school and I was at home. I was just telling you guys before we jumped on, Joyce and myself are hosting a tab gig at Suncorp Stadium tomorrow night, so I was doing a little bit of prep for that and just watching the races in the middle.
No, that'll be as you said before the show, we were speaking about it, so that'll be good fun. Obviously, you're now a Sky Racing presenter, as I mentioned earlier, but before that, you've had a number of different roles, including you're a track work rider, riding some good horses for Tony Gollan and those sort of trainers, an apprentice jockey at one stage as well, and also you did a bit of work for Racing Queensland. So could you just sort of run through with us a bit about your track work riding role and sort of where the adventure and the journey that took you on?
Yeah, so track work riding for me was, I guess, when I was an apprentice, it's all sort of fallen into place with the role I do now because I have rode in races. It just gives me another angle to come in from as a Sky presenter and doing form as well. But I, at the time, was probably a little bit too young to leave home and I was really homesick and things like that whilst I was apprenticed. And I did have an injury and I found myself back at home at mum and dad's. I lived in country New South Wales and I went back to track work riding, which was my real passion because track work riding can sort of take you anywhere. And I did want to eventually go to Hong Kong and ride work as well. So I found a real interest in that and I was really keen and eager to be sort of the best work rider that I could. And I was fortunate enough to, ride some really good horses and then travel with some of those horses as well, sort of chasing the carnivals. I was in Melbourne usually during spring, autumn I was in Sydney, and of course back here for winter. So it was a good experience for mine. I loved it as a job. I was just about to go to Hong Kong too, which was sort of my ultimate goal with the work riding. But then I met my now husband Brian and I
threw a spanner
in
the
back burner and then it never happened, but I'm sort of glad it didn't because I'm happy where I am now.
Yeah, for sure. With Hong Kong, did you request to go over or was there anything like that or did you just hoping you could get over there?
There was a offer from Caspar through virtually just through a horse of Tony's getting sold over there. Yeah, okay. And it was probably the right time for me to go to because, I guess the booms had finished up and I was sort of not kicking stones, but I was like, where do I go to next? And I didn't really want to leave Brisbane and go anywhere else interstate. So it was a good time. But, as I said, I literally met my now husband and at the time, you know what it's like when you're in love.
Yeah, that's
you don't want to go anywhere.
No. And how'd you go as an apprentice jockey? Were you much good?
Yeah, I think I went all right.
Yeah.
I could have. I would have had a handful of rides. I think I had 30 or 29 rides or something. I rode 3 winners.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just wasn't committed in the headspace that I needed to be to, really make a good go of it.
You're quite tall though.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You're not
and it was definitely weight and things like that came into it. And I think if you're not 100%, I know myself because I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to things I'm working at or towards. It just wasn't for me at the time. And track work riding was such an easy thing to jump to. And I was definitely sad I wasn't going down that route. But yeah, it just wasn't for me. But a lot of times, especially when I was riding work for Tony, because I was riding so many horses, my weight was really low and I thought about coming back multiple times, but yeah, it just didn't happen.
Was who were you apprenticed to? Was it Tony at the time?
No, I was
No?
apprenticed in Dubbo
Yeah.
in New South Wales with my late uncle, Jeff Hayes. And then for pretty much the remainder where I did the riding, I was on loan to Paul St. Vincent in Tamworth, who trained the Jackal
Oh yeah.
last year in the past.
Yeah.
And his son has his trainer's license, Aiden. He goes really good too,
Yeah,
Aiden St.
yeah.
Vincent, sort of Northern Rivers area.
And then from sort of the track work riding, obviously you said you met your husband and ended up having kids and all that sort of thing. So you went on to doing a bit of work for Racing Queensland. So what did that entail?
So when we had our first child, obviously I wasn't riding anymore and things like that. So I worked for Racing Queensland in their education department. I guess for those that don't know, apprentice jockeys now need to hold the accredited certification, which is like your certificate 4 in jockey or your cert 3 in track work rider, which is the pathway to the jockey certificate. So I did a lot of work with that and with the apprentices, and it was just more of a bit of an office job, but it was a really good transition for me, I guess, because I still had that little bit of racing that I could delve into, because my family's not a racing family, nor is my husband. So sort of got my racing fix through that.
Yeah, right. And your husband now, he follows your tips?
Yeah. So he always, and he has ever since I started tipping, he always has $1 multi on all my picks to win. And of course, he missed out on a bit of money.
We wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, that's a great story. I remember when I was 17, I had won $5 for 12 grand. It was 2 of my dad's horses and one of Nay's dad, and I think it was Alan Jones's horse.
Yeah.
And his last leg was our leg, and it got slaughtered. Should have won. And it was 12 grand off $5. I was suicidal. You should have seen me.
I would have it's weird, hey, because you know what, so we were up for 240,000 off the dollar.
Yeah,
life changing.
Of course, what's that? Sorry,
I said life changing.
It is. That's 100%. And obviously the leg that lost got beat a nose, and it was in a photo. But he actually even forgot to put on, because he was in a meeting, so he forgot to roll in the first leg, which paid $8. So it would have been worth a lot more. But anyways, it didn't get up. So, but he brought it up last night. Even he came home from working away at Chinchilla, and I was like, you know what? You have to stop. We've got to stop talking about it. It's like bad vibes.
Yeah, it is. That's what Dad said. You got to get over it, mate. It didn't win. Move on.
Yes. 100%. And I got 2 speeding fines recently, and I was like, oh, that's
250 grand would have been all right.
Hey, I would have even gave them extra. Just pause.
And for those who don't know what we're talking about, it was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago at Warwick, and you tipped 8 out of the 9 winners. So that's to even tip 1 winner. Some weeks Scotty and I struggle to tip a winner. So to tip 8 out of 9, that's a big effort.
Oh, thanks, guys. It was it was, I don't know, it was mixed emotions sort of day. And for the fact that Ryan had that multi on, and I knew he had it on, by the time the last horse came up, or even the last 3 races, sort of me and Joycey just had this vibe that it was just nothing would beat them. They were going to win. And every horse that day, it was like the stars aligned, had the best run, got the split at the right time and things like that. It was just the weirdest day.
Were you confident going into that meeting? Like that you could
No,
get
not
that?
at all,
No?
because I never am really at those tracks, because you've got some horses with unexposed form, that have been racing around the country tracks. And I was really confident in the one I'd made a special, which I tipped on debut. Other than that, I thought it would be a mixed day. And if the horses got the right luck, it'd be a good day. But even, I guess, Glenn Thornton's horse in Hot Profit, who I was really confident on, it's a horse that misses the kick all the time. And I thought, that'll be the tail of the day. This thing will be slow away and just
everything to go right.
Like that. Every horse was just
falling into place. No, and what's your routine for doing the form? Because obviously it's a punting show and people like to have a bet. So do you have a specific routine or sort of procedure that you follow week to week when you're doing the form, or is it does it change depending on where you're sort of presenting and that sort of thing, or is there a set routine that you sort of follow?
Probably I'd say it's like a more set routine. I am pretty over the top with my form. I like to leave no stone unturned. When it comes to, I guess now I've been doing it for a year and a half. It's good because I know most horses in the flesh, so I've got that profile on them as well, so I can remember how a horse paraded the start before or it had more to come on, etc. But I print out my form and I use Best Bets to sort of put my notes on because it's just really, it's formatted so easily, particularly when I'm sort of reading out from the mounting yard, just their name and jockey and trainer. But I'll spend I could spend over an hour on a race sometimes until I'm really happy with it. Sometimes it's hard with time constraints when you've got back-to-back meetings. But I think for me too, I had this bad habit where I was being superstitious. So I was coming home not having a good day on the tip and I was throwing away the pen that I used that day. And I was like, it's that pen. And next minute I was like running out of pens. And I was like, I've got to stop being
I'm like that too, not have a bad day.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think because I've stopped being superstitious and I've never gone better, I guess, with my Best Bets and things like that. And I've just knocked it out of my head that it's not because I wore white socks or something.
Yeah.
It's just because it is what it is.
Yeah, and are you a big punter, would you say, or like where would you sort of put yourself?
I love punting, but I'm a really small punter.
Yeah, smart.
As in how much I outlay.
Yeah.
I obviously, as is my husband, but when I was riding track work and I was really confident on one, look, the most I'd have on it is $50 and always pretty much on the nose. But now I just like to roll in little multis or I'll have 5 on my Best Bets and things like that and just walk away happy because, I'd probably be out of control if I didn't. Because I love punting on anything.
Like me and Nate on Saturdays,
we're the same.
Here, there, everywhere. But anyway, going back to
I'm
your riding
into the dogs
days.
at the moment.
Oh, no. You're not getting me there. Not getting me there. But going back to your riding days, Kiaarn, did you have much to do with Temple of Boom and Spirit of Boom?
Yeah, so I actually rode both of them track work, which was really cool because they were always in work at the same time because we were pretty much targeting the same races. Probably completely different horses in a sense. Obviously, Spirit was a stallion, but he was a really, really quiet bull. Even when I'd spend time with him in Melbourne, you could put him on the walker behind a mare and stuff like that. Like he was chilled. Whereas Temple he's only a small little guy, obviously like a stocky sprinting type, but he just liked to sort of do his own thing and keep to himself. And like he could drop you too. I was lucky enough he never dropped me, but like he dropped Corey Brown, he dropped J-Mac. He used to have this little thing we'd call like the Temple goose step. And when you let him go out of the mounting yard, he'd just throw it into him. And I was lucky enough, track work, I was ready for him. But like poor old J-Mac and that, they've gone to get over his neck and he's dropped him.
Well, I can't remember. They were probably a little bit before my time, but did they look similar being full brothers?
No, they were halves.
Oh, halves. So Sequalo was Spirit of Boom by Spirit.
Temple was he was by Piccolo. He's the only one I've ever known
that's
by
right. Yeah,
Piccolo. And and Spirit was of course Sequalo, but they didn't. They sort of did, I guess. Spirit was bigger than Temple, but he wasn't a giant horse either. But he just had this massive back end. He was nearly upside down. He had so much sort of power in the back, Spirit. And then Temple was just your bread and butter, good, stocky sort of sprinting type.
Yeah, and now obviously Spirit of Boom, he's a good stallion in Queensland and watching his progeny run around. So did you think he would, I guess it's probably hard to say, but did you think he would sort of go to the heights he has as a stallion?
Always hoped he did, but I didn't, I didn't have, it's not that I didn't have high expectations, but it's so hard with, what makes a good stallion. And I think there was a bit of, the jury wasn't out on the stallions that had raced a little bit longer. So he was obviously an older stallion compared to what they sort of do now. They sort of pick off their Group 1s and their stallions as 3 or 4 year olds. So he was a little bit older, but obviously didn't hinder him because he's such a good sire. And it's dead set. It's so makes me feel that good and exciting, especially when I see one in the mounting yard that's sort of stamped by him and got that really big back end. But he's doing so well.
Yeah, where would you rank them two? Who would be in front of the other?
Spirit always, because it's not the fact that Temple won his Group 1 on a wet. It's just the fact that Spirit did so many things wrong in his races and he was a work in progress. So he was really untapped. And it was just a matter of getting him to do the right thing. Like he used to hang in really, really badly. So that was, I had to do a lot of work with him in his track work and gallops to get him to settle. And so for mine, when you're running good races in Group 1 company and you're still doing things wrong, you know, that's probably your classier horse, or maybe your one with a little bit more X factor.
Yeah. And was there any other horses from Tony's or that you rode in track work that you particularly remembered and thought, oh, this is a good horse that maybe we didn't see reach their full potential?
Yeah, there's one that comes to mind, and I still think he's the best horse I've ever ridden. And I was lucky enough when the horses were staying in Melbourne, we'd stay with Darley, and I rode plenty of work for them while I was there because I only had the 2 horses to ride. And I sat on, I'm just trying to think, like sessions and horses like that. But we had one called Looks Like the Cat, and he was, trying to think who I compare him to, maybe like the Autumn Sun. Like he really covered a lot of ground. He had a lot of scope, and he flattened out. And when he flattened out, I've never sort of galloped a horse that could make up ground as quick as he could. Unfortunately, he was sold after his prep he had one prep. I took him to Melbourne for one prep in Flemington, and he was sold to Hong Kong after that. And then he needed like a tie back operation. Things went wrong. So definitely never saw the best of him, but by far best horse I've sat on, yeah.
Now, I know your track work riding days are over, Kiaarn, but you've got a pony. I know you get your grey on.
Yeah. Kevin Kemp kept telling me, because that's the beauty about my job too. You hang around the participants so long because you're at the races all day. You just make so many good sort of lifelong friends. And Kevin Kemp is just a dead set legend. And he kept telling me, he's like, you got to take this grey horse. He's just lovely horse, blah, blah, blah. And he sort of wore me down. I was like, righto, I don't really need a horse. But we've got stables next door where I live in Deegan. So I've taken this grey horse, Get Your Grey On. And he's just a legend, and we love him. And I sort of, you know, get to go and ride and stuff, which is good because I do still want to I want to train while I'm doing this job too. It's just a matter of when it's time manageable with the young kids and stuff.
Yeah,
but I'd love to ride my own work as well. So I'd sort of have to get fit again.
So do you see yourself doing that in the near future, Kiaarn, training?
I'd love to say yes. Like I really have it on my radar as something I want to start doing soon. And I guess like I said, it's got to be manageable around my job now, and it can't interfere with my job now, because this is the most important thing to me career-wise for a long time, I hope so, with Sky. But I'd just like to have 1 or 2, and obviously we've got stables next door, and I'll just ride my own work and have to just pay someone to take them to the races if I was covering that day. But I'd hope to do that. I'd hope to probably take out my license. I don't know. I'd love to do it next year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's worth having a go at when you got them skills.
Yeah,
under your belt,
just want to buy some shares.
Do you want to buy some shares? We've got some shares, don't worry.
I don't want to own them because they're too costly.
Too expensive.
Just sell them. You'll sell them. It'll be easy.
And what does your weekly routine sort of look like now, Kiaarn, with obviously presenting at different venues around South East Queensland? What does your sort of week map out like?
So it's sort of catch and pass with my husband, with the kids. We go through the week and work out who can do school drop-off and pick up. We are allowed a day before the races, like that's called our prep day, when we obviously do the form. So as I said, I spend ages on my form, and I don't feel right unless I do that, sorry. So when the kids are at school, I just do that from home, which is just so practical and just makes my life so much easier. So, you know, I don't have to go into an office or commute anywhere in the traffic, so I can sit and do my foreman replays at home. And then, I'll go to the races, and some meetings you have, you know, like this week's really quiet, albeit the hosting gig, and then I've got to be at Doomben on Saturday and Sunny Coast on Sunday, but I'd consider that a pretty quiet week. It's just time management with the young kids and making sure I can sort of get that 100% into my form.
What would you say your best track is to, you know, analyse and you enjoy the most of, you know, tipping horses and looking at?
A Sunshine Coast, for sure.
I
love it. Even though
under pressure there, but anyway.
What's that, sorry?
I said you're under pressure to say that, but yeah. It's a good answer.
No, dead set. I think with your quality of fields and stuff for that provincial level, you see so many good horses come through there, and like Golden Boom, he kicked off his career there. Like you get those up and comers, and you can earmark them and they get their chance at the Sunshine Coast, of course. Like it's such a good track.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have ties to the winner on Sunday?
Sunshine Coast.
Bohemian Boom? Did you have ties to that? I saw the Instagram photo.
I just like to get in photos.
Oh, you just like to get in photos? I wonder if they own a share in that horse.
I felt like I was an owner because I've been on the ride with him since, obviously, and two, David Van Dyke doesn't race a lot of horses as 2-year-olds either.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It was pretty exciting.
He does look exciting. He's an exciting horse, for sure.
And you work pretty close with Paul Joyce, Kiaarn, and he's probably, you've mentioned a few times, he's sort of a bit of a mentor to you, and he's helped you along the way, because I'd imagine it'd be a pretty scary sort of, or daunting experience, especially the first time you're in front of that camera. So has he helped you along the way a fair bit?
Yeah, and I like how you said mentor, because like that's how I see him. But even now, a year and a half on, like, we're just like really good friends. Like we're such good mates, work aside. But he, we have a lot of the same values when it comes to just being a human being, I guess. And also we're quite similar in how we look at form, but he's helped with getting me to be TV, I don't know, acceptable or whatever, whatever you call it, has been priceless. Like he makes you really calm and you don't feel nervous, you don't feel pressure. And it's, I'm so lucky, honestly, to have been able to work with him. And I enjoy it so much because, like I said, we do get along so well. So it makes the day pass really quickly if we've got a long day.
Yeah.
But if I ever need advice now with, that's a 360 angle with work, he's always there to help me out.
Yeah, and he's definitely someone that would be good to learn from too, I can imagine.
Oh, yeah. He's just like such a good guy. Like, he's just got no SHIT.
Yeah, you can say it. Yeah,
you can say it. It's all right.
You probably can't. I guess.
Yeah. And on that note too, Kiaarn, I mentioned it probably would have been a daunting experience the first time doing a presenting gig. Did you feel the nerves a bit?
Yeah, I don't anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably say you weren't trying if you don't feel a little bit nervous before you're about to go on. But, I've got this toolbox now of things I've learnt that I always remind myself when I'm on air and things like that. And I'm still learning, I still need to get a lot better than I am now. But I remember my first day was with Joycey at Toowoomba and we'd actually never met. So, like, I was just, freaking out. But I got from A to Z, because of him. But it wasn't long after I was rostered on to do the Sunshine Coast, and they called me and they said, "Oh, Kiaarn, you're not going to believe it. Joycey's been attacked by an Alsatian." you got to do the meeting on your own. But that was good. No. You either, you sink or you swim, and I was lucky enough to swim, and Joycey's leg was okay.
Did he actually get attacked by an Alsatian? He actually did.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cheater.
Yeah, he hates when I bring it up. He's like, stop it.
And Kiaarn, obviously, it's a punting show. I don't know if you've had a chance yet with all the you've got kids that you had to drop off to daycare and family matters to attend to, but have you had a look at the card on Saturday, and is there anything you can talk the listeners into?
So very briefly, I haven't gone through it, but I will, because I've got to be there on Saturday, but I'll do that Friday. However, I really like Hueta in the I struggle with that horse's name.
Yeah, it's hard.
Someone told me it was Spanish, and I was like, I thought it was French. Actually, a Frenchman told me it was Spanish.
Yeah.
So if that track can get in the range, soft 5, because he doesn't like too much sting out of the ground. I thought he was so good the other day at Sunshine Coast. Like, he didn't really build momentum till sort of the 450, and he was sort of past Zaki at 50 metres after the post. So, I think he's going to really excel back to Doomben too, and he's on fresher legs. Like, he's a 6-year-old, I think. But I think if he can get on top of the ground, another one, and I haven't looked at the racing depth other than the fact that I seen that he drew low, was Golden Boom. because first up he sat on a sort of hot speed. He was wide.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit disappointing on face value for the expectations I have in that horse. However, he trialled the other day, trialled really nicely. I think he's definitely one out of the box, and you just can't drop off him too soon, I think.
And the fields for Sunshine Coast on Sunday aren't out. There's big noms, but we
got to put a stop to it. There's too many noms.
It's like
what have I got? Like another 10 race card?
We've got 10 races.
Yeah, it will be.
I'm going to get soaked again in the night. You sit out there at the barriers like a retard.
They're long days, hey.
Oh, a long day. It was a long day on Sunday. I was ready to go.
I had a good day on Sunday. The two best bets got up often.
I was having a great day until it started raining. When that rain started coming in, I said,
I know. Actually, I forgot about that. The last race. I tipped Zoom Meteor, and it was obviously scratched. So I sort of was annoyed because I was like, oh, when we top selection scratch anyways, got caught off anyways.
Yeah.
Hey, Zoom Meteor's going around in town. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, nice horse.
Yeah, and he'll... Like, obviously, it's throwing him in the deep end a bit, but we've always sort of had an opinion of him. And I think you mentioned on the preview the other day, he did have excuses last prep as to why he was sort of laying in. So,
how bad did he used to lay in?
Well, his last start before he went out for a spell, when he ran 4th of 4th, it was pretty bad. So he didn't do it in track work. Yeah, so he didn't do it in track work, but obviously under race pressure. Yeah. So he was. That's what the reason was there. So I think now he's been gelded, obviously. Hopefully he can run a decent race in that sort of field.
He moves so well too, like he covers ground nicely as well, and I love seeing horses that do that. But that win the other day looked quite effortless on his behalf, like moving forward. Yeah, there was a funny story because the first time he raced, it was Melbourne Cup Day. Last year.
It's a funny story.
Oh yeah, it's not really that funny. It was funny.
I backed him.
Yeah, well, it was about. Hilarious. I think it was 12. It was $12 into $3 or something. Anyway,
nailed by a stablemate.
Nailed by the stablemate right on the line. And I literally said to Scotty, because it always happens, I'll say back this one. He's like, "You sure the stablemate won't win?" I was like, nah. And it always happens. So he was about.
That always happens, but
yeah,
doesn't it?
I know, and it was right on the line too. And the other horse hasn't won a race since.
And then he's like the up and comer, but isn't it? It's just patience in racing. Like racing, patience pays dividends, and horses need a lot of time.
Yeah,
some
big
of them.
horses like that.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
No, well, we appreciate you coming on, Kiaarn. Our Zoom meeting's about to run out because
we have this cut. We got to cut it.
We got to cut it. Yeah. So we appreciate you coming on, and obviously we'll see you around at the races, but. Hopefully you're back a winner.
Anytime, guys.
Yeah.
All the best.
Hopefully you're back a winner on Saturday. And
9 out of 9. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Sunshine Coast on Sunday.
Go on.
I'm going to be doing my form extra hard for Sundays, maybe. On Friday.
No, thank you, Kiaarn.
Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it. And, happy punting.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Kiaarn.
See ya.
See ya.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.